The galaxy had long forgotten Earth. For centuries, humans had vanished from the stars. Once a young, fragile species, they had built fragile colonies on distant planets. But then, without warning, humans disappeared. Entire fleets were lost, settlements abandoned, and their enemies breathed a sigh of relief. The alien empires grew bold. They claimed the stars for themselves. They laughed at the memory of humans, calling them primitive, fragile, and weak. They believed the threat was gone forever. But humans never truly disappeared. They went underground, back to their homeworld, where they rebuilt quietly, with patience and fierce determination. On Earth, entire generations learned the ways of survival, strategy, and adaptation. They studied the stars, perfected their technology, and trained their minds and bodies. Humans had learned one truth that no alien could understand. Survival was not just about power. It was about will. In the dark depths of space, a lone human scout ship blinked into view near the Orion Belt. It was small, battered, almost laughable compared to the massive alien warships surrounding it. The alien fleets noticed immediately. Their sensors screamed at them. "It's a human vessel?" one officer whispered, trembling. Others laughed, mocking the little ship. "Old legends, nothing more," they said. But deep inside, fear stirred, a tiny seed that would grow. The human ship moved with calm precision. Inside, Captain Reyna sat at the helm, her hands steady, eyes fixed on the stars. She felt the weight of every life that had been lost during the dark years. She felt the memory of every colony abandoned, every fleet destroyed. Her heart was heavy, but her mind was clear. Humans were returning, not for revenge, not for war, but because they could not let themselves be erased. As the ship approached the nearest alien outpost, a strange silence fell over the control room. Reyna's crew, young and old, veteran and trainee, felt it too. It was not fear. It was focus. Every human knew their mission. Every human knew the stakes. This was not a test. This was the beginning of humanity's rise from the ashes. Outside, the alien outpost was massive, a fortress of steel and firepower. Its shields glowed with energy. Its cannons bristled with menace. Alien patrol ships circled it, their engines humming with arrogance. "They cannot breach this," one alien commander boasted, a sneer twisting his mandibles. "They are weak. They are nothing." But Reyna only smiled. "Nothing," she whispered, almost to herself. She activated the ship's stealth drive and slipped past the outer defenses. The outpost sensors tried to track her, but humans had learned patience and cunning. Every movement was calculated, every action precise. In moments, the small ship disappeared from all scans, reappearing inside the heart of the enemy base. Explosions erupted like distant thunder. The outpost's walls shook, alarms screamed, and alien soldiers ran in panic. They had never seen such a tactic. They had never fought an enemy like this. Humans were not just bold. They were merciless, determined, and unstoppable. One by one, the alien defenses fell. Shields overloaded, cannons misfired, systems collapsed. On the bridge of the outpost, alien officers screamed orders, but chaos had taken hold. Confusion spread like wildfire. "Impossible," one cried. "They cannot be inside." "How?" But it was too late. Humans were already moving through the corridors, silent and deadly. Reyna led the boarding party herself. Her footsteps echoed in the metal halls, each step a declaration. Humans had returned, and nothing would stop them. Outside in space, other human ships began to emerge from the shadows. They had been hiding, waiting, watching, learning. Each vessel carried a small crew, but each crew carried the courage and resolve of countless generations. Their arrival was not a whisper, it was a storm. Alien fleets scrambled, unsure where to aim or what to target. The humans were everywhere at once and nowhere. In that moment, a realization struck the alien command. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were adaptation made flesh. Every tactic, every attack, every strike showed intelligence and ferocity they could not match. Fear turned to panic. Pride turned to despair. The same empires that once laughed at humanity now trembled before it. Back on the human flagship, Reyna looked at the stars. She thought of the children of Earth, the colonies lost, the millions who had dreamed of returning home. She felt sorrow but also pride. Humanity was not a weak species. Humanity was a force, unyielding, unstoppable, iron-willed. "Prepare for the next wave," she said softly, her voice steady, unwavering. "This is only the beginning." And as the first explosions rocked the alien outpost, the galaxy felt it, the faint tremor of a power long underestimated. Humans were back, silent, merciless. And soon, no empire would be untouched by their rise. The blue light of Earth shone somewhere in the distance, a reminder that the heart of humanity beat stronger than ever. Across the stars, the name human became a word both feared and whispered in awe. The silent return had begun, and the galaxy would never forget it. The alien outpost had barely recovered from the first human infiltration when the second wave hit. Humans did not wait. They did not negotiate. Diplomacy was a word they had long left behind. Their strike was swift, precise, and merciless. Captain Reyna stood on the bridge of the human flagship, eyes scanning the holographic map of the alien fleet. Every movement was planned, every ship assigned a target. But humans thrived in chaos. Even if their plans failed, they adapted instantly. Every human pilot knew instinctively what to do, how to react, how to survive. And every human soldier knew one thing above all else: they would not fail. The first explosions rocked the outer perimeter of the alien system. Alien warships scrambled to respond, their weapons firing blindly into space. Yet humans were already inside the heart of their fleet. Small, fast ships darted through shields and energy fields, striking vital points with surgical precision. One by one, massive alien vessels erupted into fire, their crews screaming in disbelief. How are they here?" shouted an officer, his antennae quivering in fear. Reyna's ship dropped out of stealth, hovering near the command citadel of the largest alien vessel. "Boarding team, deploy," she ordered. Her voice was calm, steady, but carried the weight of the lives she led. Around her, human soldiers activated their exosuits, weapons humming with energy. They were not monsters. They were humans, ordinary in form, extraordinary in will. Inside the alien citadel, chaos reigned. Alarms blared, walls shook, and alien officers ran from console to console, trying desperately to regain control. But the humans did not fight like the aliens expected. They moved with purpose, silent and deadly. No alien weapon could stop their advance. A young alien soldier fired at a human charging down a hallway. The shot hit, but the human barely flinched. With one swift motion, he disarmed the soldier and moved on, leaving the alien trembling on the floor. This scene repeated again and again, corridor by corridor, ship by ship. Humans were relentless. Humans were everywhere. Outside, the alien fleet watched in horror. Their massive cannons, designed to destroy planets, could not touch the nimble human ships. Their shields were useless against tactics they could not predict. Entire formations collapsed, some retreating in panic, others destroyed where they stood. The arrogance that had carried alien empires for centuries was dying in an instant. In the bridge of her flagship, Reyna did not smile at the destruction. She felt sorrow for the fallen, both human and alien. War was never clean, never easy, but she felt pride in the courage of her people. Humans did not fight because they loved violence. They fought because they refused to be erased. Every strike, every maneuver, every victory carried the weight of generations who had survived, who had endured, who had refused to give up. As the humans advanced deeper into the alien command ship, they encountered the alien officers attempting to organize a counterattack. The humans did not hesitate. Their boarding party moved as one, swift and silent. Blasts of energy, the hum of swords and the echo of running boots filled the corridors. Each alien struck down only strengthened the humans' resolve. Each challenge taught them, sharpened them, made them stronger. On the bridge of the command ship, the alien admiral pounded the control panel. Stop them.
Destroy them!
This is impossible. His voice cracked in desperation. But it was already too late. Humans were inside. Humans were unyielding. Humans were unstoppable. Reyna walked calmly through the doorway, her eyes scanning the room. She did not speak. She only raised her hand, and the alien leaders fell to their knees, realizing their empire had underestimated a species they thought weak. In space above, the human fleet pressed their attack. They did not give the aliens a moment to breathe. Systems collapsed, ships exploded, and panic spread across the alien ranks like wildfire. Every strike seemed impossible, yet the humans made it happen. They had learned to turn fear into power, doubt into strategy, and loss into determination. For a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. No one had seen a force like this. No one had faced enemies who refused to retreat, refused to yield, and refused to die without taking everything with them. The aliens' arrogance, their centuries of pride, shattered like glass under the relentless pressure of human resolve. After hours of battle, the dust settled. The alien outpost was in ruins. Entire fleets had been scattered. The survivors fled in panic, their morale broken. Across the galaxy, news would travel quickly. Humans were back. Humans were not just returning. They were a force to be feared, a storm no empire could stop. Reyna stood on the bridge, her hands resting lightly on the console. Her crew looked to her, exhausted but alive, hearts pounding with the thrill of victory and the weight of loss. She looked out at the stars and whispered softly, "This is only the beginning." Because it was true. The first strike had been a warning. The humans were merciless, precise, and unstoppable. Every alien empire that had laughed at their disappearance now trembled in fear. Across the void, a single truth spread. Humanity had returned, and nothing, not shields, fleets, or weapons, could stop them. And somewhere, far away on Earth, the blue planet shone quietly, a reminder of the home they fought for. The stars themselves seemed to bend to the determination of its people. The galaxy had ignored humans for too long. Now humans were not just back, they were rising, and every empire that stood in their way would feel the weight of their iron will. The alien empires had believed themselves untouchable. Their fleets spanned entire star systems, their weapons capable of destroying planets. They had fought countless wars among themselves and survived every time. They were proud, arrogant, confident, and they had never faced humans like these. Everywhere the humans appeared, alien leaders scrambled to respond. Systems that had been safe for decades were suddenly under attack. Fleets that had once been feared across galaxies were now retreating, broken and unsure. Panic spread like wildfire through command centers. Officers shouted orders, but the humans were already one step ahead. On the orbit of Ethera Prime, the largest alien fleet assembled to repel the humans. Millions of ships formed an enormous line of firepower, all bristling with energy cannons and missile arrays. Generals stood on command bridges giving orders with authority, expecting victory. "We will crush them," they said. "These humans cannot survive this." The humans, however, saw the battlefield differently. They did not fear numbers. They did not panic at overwhelming odds. To them, the size of the fleet was only another challenge to overcome. Captain Reyna's voice echoed over the comms, calm but firm. "Stay focused. Strike where they are weakest, adapt, endure, win." And humans did just that. Ships darted between massive vessels, moving faster than alien sensors could track. Small boarding teams infiltrated enemy ships, disabling weapons, causing chaos. The humans had learned to fight with both technology and courage, using strategy that no alien could predict. Every attack was precise, calculated, and devastating. Alien soldiers watched in disbelief as their carefully formed lines disintegrated. They fired blindly, yet the humans adapted instantly. When a fleet attempted to trap them in a corner of space, humans redirected energy, used their own momentum against the enemy, and escaped with minimal losses. Every failure they experienced became a lesson. Every victory made them stronger. On Ethera Prime's surface, human soldiers landed in full force. They moved swiftly, systematically, never stopping. Entire alien armies that had once been proud now crumbled before their iron will. Civilians and soldiers alike fled in terror, realizing that the humans were not just fighters, they were unstoppable. Reyna moved through the chaos, leading from the front. She did not hesitate, did not pause. Her eyes burned with determination. Her mind focused on one truth. Humans survived because they refused to quit. She saw young recruits, barely trained, pushing forward with courage beyond measure. She saw veterans who had lost everything still standing tall, inspiring others. She felt pride so strong it almost hurt. Despite the overwhelming numbers, aliens tried to regroup. Generals yelled orders, fleets changed formation. Weapons fired in all directions. But nothing worked. Humans adapted instantly, turning every attack into an advantage. Ships were destroyed, but humans moved on, never stopping, never slowing. Even when casualties mounted, morale did not break. Humans understood loss differently. They honored it, learned from it, and used it to fuel the next attack. In the bridge of an alien flagship, Admiral Korath slammed his fists against the console. How are they still standing? We have them cornered. But humans were not cornered. Humans thrived when the odds were against them. Each loss they suffered only sharpened their resolve. Korath's pride, his centuries of belief in alien superiority, shattered under the force of human determination. By the end of the battle, the alien fleet lay in ruins. Ships drifted aimlessly, weapons offline, morale shattered. Systems that were once considered impregnable now lay open to human control. Across the galaxy, news of this victory spread quickly. Every empire began to realize the terrifying truth. Humans were not only back, they were unstoppable. On the human flagship, Reyna stood silently, watching the remnants of the alien fleet disappear into the void. Her crew looked to her, exhausted but alive. Some grieved for lost comrades, others smiled at the hard-earned victory. Reyna placed her hand lightly on the console, feeling the pulse of her people. "We are not invaders," she said softly. "We are survivors. We are humans, and we will endure." Even in victory, humans mourned. They had lost many brave souls that day, each one remembered and honored. But the losses made them stronger, their resolve harder, their purpose clearer. They were not a species to be conquered or erased. They were a force forged in struggle, sharpened by adversity and united by an iron will that no enemy could break. Across the galaxy, the alien empires shivered. They had underestimated humans for centuries. They had laughed at their disappearance, confident in their own power. And now they realized their mistake. Every fleet, every fortress, every empire that had turned its back on Earth began to tremble in fear. The humans did not celebrate. They did not gloat. They simply pressed forward. For them, this was not the end, it was the beginning. The galaxy was waking to a truth long denied. Humans had returned, unstoppable, merciless, and unbroken. And every empire that had ever doubted them would soon feel the full weight of their return. Reyna looked out at the stars, blue and infinite. Somewhere far away, Earth waited. The heart of humanity, the home they had fought to protect, shone like a beacon, and in that light every human felt a surge of pride and determination. They had returned to the stars, and this time they would not be denied. Victory had come, but it was not without a cost. The human fleets had shattered alien formations, forced retreats, and reclaimed entire systems. Yet the triumph was heavy with sorrow. Ships that had survived countless battles now floated silent, broken monuments to the lives lost. Soldiers who had fought bravely lay still, their faces serene in final rest. Humans mourned them not as statistics, but as family. Every fallen comrade carried a story, a memory, and a purpose that would not be forgotten. Captain Reyna stood on the deck of the flagship, looking down at the battlefield below. Smoke rose from shattered ships, their hulls glowing faintly in the cold vacuum of space. Every explosion she had witnessed weighed on her heart. She had led them into battle, knowing full well the cost, yet still hoping to minimize it. And yet, even with their losses, the humans had prevailed. They had survived against impossible odds, against enemies who had thought themselves invincible. On one planet, the devastation was even more visible. Cities that had been abandoned by fleeing aliens were scarred with the remnants of war. Human soldiers walked the streets slowly, searching for survivors and honoring those who could not be saved. They were careful, respectful, never treating the conquered as enemies to be mocked. Humans fought with iron wills, yes, but also with hearts that understood grief and compassion. Reyna visited one battlefield personally. She knelt beside the remains of a young pilot who had given his life to save an entire squad. Her fingers traced the dented armor, the smudged insignia. "You were brave," she whispered. "We will carry you with us. Your courage lives in all of us." She rose, her eyes wet but determined. Humans did not bow to despair. They honored it and then moved forward. Across the galaxy, word spread of humanity's ferocity. Alien empires whispered rumors of a species that could endure anything, that could turn fear into strength, loss into determination. Soldiers trembled not at human weapons. They trembled at their will. Pride turned to fear, and fear turned to surrender. What had once been considered weak was now unstoppable. What had once been laughed at was now a legend. But humans themselves felt the weight of every life lost. On the bridge of her flagship, Reyna watched the stars, each one a distant sun that might hold human homes or human sacrifices. The victories were many, yet the losses were countless. Every name remembered was a vow. Never again would humanity allow itself to be forgotten, erased, or underestimated. Every soul fallen became a reason to fight harder, move faster, and endure longer. Even among the victories, there were moments of quiet heartbreak. Soldiers wrote letters home to loved ones they would never see again. Messages were sent to families who had lost children, brothers, sisters, friends. Grief hung in the air like a heavy fog, but humans endured. That endurance, that ability to carry sorrow and still rise, was what set them apart from every alien race they had faced. In one quiet corner of a destroyed city, a group of human soldiers gathered around a small memorial. They lit candles, sang songs of remembrance, and shared stories of those who had fallen. Laughter mixed with tears as they remembered bravery, sacrifice, and humanity itself. Reyna joined them briefly, placing her hand over the small holographic images of their fallen comrades. She did not speak. Words were not enough. Her presence was enough. Humans understood that grief did not weaken them. It strengthened them. Across the void, alien empires watched in fear. They could not understand the human heart. They could not comprehend a species that mourned deeply, yet fought harder than ever before. Every loss only hardened humans' resolve. Every tear shed became fuel for the fires of their return. The galaxy had once believed humans fragile, weak, and fleeting. Now every empire trembled at their persistence. Reyna returned to her bridge, voice quiet but steady. "We move forward," she said. Her crew nodded. The sorrow of the lost would remain with them, but it would not stop them. They had survived against impossible odds before. They would survive again. The humans had learned that victory was not measured only in destruction of enemies. It was measured in endurance, courage, and the will to rise even when the weight of the universe pressed down. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Reyna felt a surge of quiet pride. The humans had faced death, loss, and despair, and yet here they were. They carried every fallen soldier in their hearts and moved forward stronger than before. The galaxy would learn soon enough that humans did not simply survive. Humans endured, humans rose, and the empires that trembled before them would discover something far more terrifying than weapons or fleets. They could not break the human spirit. The galaxy had never seen a force like this. Humans did not just fight, they learned, adapted, and evolved with every encounter. Every alien tactic, every ambush, every defensive measure was studied, understood, and countered. Where other species might falter after a loss, humans grew stronger. Every mistake became a lesson. Every challenge became a weapon. Captain Reyna stood on the bridge of her flagship, eyes scanning a holographic display of the Zorvath Dominion's fleet. The aliens had gathered their greatest forces, hoping to crush the humans once and for all. Millions of ships formed massive formations, their weapons primed, their shields glowing. Their generals were confident, almost arrogant in their expectation of victory. But humans did not fear numbers. Humans feared nothing but defeat, and defeat had no place in their hearts. Analyze their formation, Reyna ordered. Her crew worked quickly, noting weak points, gaps in defenses, and patterns of movement. Every human ship was assigned a target, but flexibility was key. Humans would strike where they were strongest and where the enemy was weakest. They adapted faster than any alien fleet could anticipate. The first human strike hit like a storm. Ships darted between alien warships, launching coordinated attacks on shield generators and weapon systems. Alien commanders shouted in disbelief as entire squadrons vanished in moments. Their strategies, built over centuries, crumbled under the relentless pressure of human ingenuity. Humans were not just soldiers. They were a force of thought and action combined. On the surface of Ithara Minor, human boarding teams struck at the alien command structures. Explosions tore through halls, alarms screamed, and alien soldiers scrambled in panic. But humans were precise. They did not waste lives unnecessarily. They moved with purpose, disabling defenses, dismantling systems, and taking control. Every human soldier acted with the knowledge that their actions mattered, that each victory would tilt the balance of the galaxy. Alien generals tried to regroup, sending reinforcements and counterattacks. But humans anticipated their moves. When a fleet attempted to trap them in a gravity well, humans used the very energy of the well to launch counterattacks that destroyed half of the alien fleet. Every alien tactic was turned against them. Every strategy failed. Fear spread among the enemy ranks like wildfire. Reyna walked through the command deck of a captured alien vessel. Her crew followed silently, checking systems and preparing for the next strike. The alien officers, once proud and commanding, now crouched and trembling. Their pride had been shattered. They realized too late that humans were more than just fighters. They were survivors, thinkers, and warriors all at once. They did not simply attack. They adapted, improvised, and endured. Even as they fought, humans honored their losses. Each victory carried the memory of those who had fallen, and each success became a tribute to their courage. Soldiers who had lost friends and comrades in previous battles now used that grief to fuel their determination. Humans did not let sorrow break them. They used it to sharpen their resolve, to remind themselves why they fought. Across the galaxy, alien empires began to whisper rumors of humans who could not be stopped. Entire systems once thought secure fell to human fleets. Command centers crumbled, defenses failed, and morale collapsed. Where aliens had once ruled without fear, now they trembled. They had underestimated the humans for centuries, and that mistake was costing them everything. On the flagship bridge, Reyna spoke to her crew. Remember what we fight for. Every system, every life, every star we reclaim is a victory for those who came before us. Do not falter. Do not fear. We are humans. We endure, we rise, and no one, no empire, no fleet, no weapon can stop us. Her voice was calm yet filled with fire. Her words carried across the bridge into the hearts of every human who heard them. The humans struck again and again. Every engagement was a lesson for the enemy. Every battle turned the tides further in humanity's favor. Alien leaders watched in terror as the humans grew stronger with each attack. They began to realize that victory would never come. Humans were not just surviving. They were dominating with a speed, intelligence, and ferocity that no species had ever witnessed. And yet, humans did not celebrate. They did not gloat. They mourned those they had lost, honored the courage of their fallen, and prepared for the battles ahead. Because for humans, victory was never the end. It was the proof of survival, the test of courage, and the reminder that they could not be broken. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Reyna felt a surge of quiet pride. The galaxy was changing. The humans had returned not as weaklings, but as conquerors of impossible odds. Alien empires trembled, systems fell, and every species that had doubted humanity learned a single truth. Humans adapt. Humans endure. Humans are unstoppable, and the humans would not stop. The humans had reached the heart of the enemy territory. Korath, the last great alien fortress, loomed before them. A massive citadel surrounded by deadly energy fields, fleets of warships, and defenses that had never failed. Entire empires had poured their pride and power into this fortress, confident it could stop any invader. Confident it could stop humans. They were wrong. Captain Reyna stood on the bridge of her flagship, gazing at the fortress. She felt the weight of her people on her shoulders. The millions who had fought, survived, and died for this moment. "This is it," she whispered. The final test. Around her, her crew prepared in silence. Each knew the stakes, each knew the cost, and each, despite fear, stood ready. The first human wave struck the outer defenses. Explosions erupted like thunder across space. Energy shields flared and collapsed, massive cannons misfired, and the alien fleet scrambled in panic. Yet the humans did not falter. They adapted instantly. When one formation collapsed, another rose in its place. Every attack, every maneuver was precise. Every human acted as though they carried the will of the entire species in their hands, and in a way they did. On the surface of Korath, human boarding teams prepared to breach the fortress. The alien soldiers inside were numerous, well-armed, and desperate. But humans did not fear desperation. They moved quickly, silently, and without hesitation. Every door they forced open, every corridor they cleared, was a testament to their courage. They fought not for glory, but for survival, and for the right to exist. Inside the fortress, the alien leaders panicked. "Stop them!" screamed one, voice trembling. "They cannot reach the core." But humans were already inside. Reyna led the boarding team personally, walking through halls where explosions had torn walls apart, where alarms blared, and where alien soldiers attempted to hold them back. Each human step was unstoppable. Every obstacle was met with iron determination. In one corridor, Reyna paused as a young soldier, barely 19, fell under fire. Without hesitation, she caught him and pulled him to safety. "Stay with me," she whispered. The soldier nodded, fear in his eyes, courage in his heart. Humans did not leave anyone behind. Humans fought together, and together they would survive. As the humans pushed deeper, the fortress began to crumble. Energy conduits exploded, walls buckled, and alien soldiers fled in panic. No one had ever seen a force so relentless. Every resistance, every attempt at counterattack only fueled the humans' determination. Every loss was remembered, honored, and transformed into strength. On the bridge of the fortress, the alien high commander trembled as he watched his systems fail one by one. How can they endure this?" he whispered almost to himself. The humans were inside his command center, moving steadily forward. They were unstoppable. They were merciless. And they were unbroken. Reyna entered the command room with her boarding team. The alien leaders dropped to their knees, fear radiating from them. Reyna's voice was calm, yet carried the weight of the universe. "Mercy?" she said softly. "We offered none when you tried to erase us. Now you will feel the consequences of underestimating humanity." Outside, human fleets had crushed the alien defenses. Ships that had once been symbols of fear now floated in ruin. The final siege was nearly complete. Yet the humans did not celebrate. They honored every fallen soldier, every life lost, and every hardship endured. Victory had a cost, and they remembered it. Reyna stood on the bridge of the fortress, looking out at the wreckage, at the terrified alien survivors, at the stars beyond. Her heart was heavy, but her spirit was strong. Humans had survived betrayal, war, loss, and near extinction. They had endured horrors no species should ever face, and they had risen stronger, fiercer, and united. The galaxy, which had once doubted them, watched in awe. Alien empires that had laughed at the disappearance of humans now shivered before them. They had learned the hard truth. Humans could not be broken, defeated, or erased. Humans survived because they refused to surrender, because they fought with courage beyond comprehension. and because their will was ironclad. As the fortress fell completely, Reyna felt a quiet sense of triumph. Not for herself, not for glory, but for her people. Every human who had survived to see this moment. Every soul who had been lost but remembered. Every child who would inherit the stars. This was for them. "Prepare for the next stage," she said to her crew. Her eyes met theirs, and each understood. This was not the end. It was the proving of humanity. They had faced the impossible and prevailed. They had taken the final stronghold and shown the galaxy that no force could stop them. The stars beyond Korath shimmered with possibility. The humans had returned, unstoppable, merciless, and unbroken, and the galaxy had finally learned to fear a name that had once been forgotten: Earth. The fortress of Korath lay in ruins, its once mighty walls shattered, its fleets scattered across the void. The alien empires that had once laughed at humanity now trembled. Across countless systems, news spread. Humans had returned, unstoppable, unbroken, merciless to those who had underestimated them. The galaxy had changed forever. Captain Reyna stood on the bridge of her flagship gazing at the stars. Her crew moved silently around her, exhausted but alive, hearts still racing from the final siege. Every eye in the room reflected pride, grief, and the fire of survival. Humans had endured impossible odds, sacrificed countless lives, and fought through despair, and now they had triumphed. "Look," whispered a young pilot, pointing toward the distant glow of Earth. Even from light years away, the blue planet shone like a beacon. Reyna felt a deep, steady ache in her chest. Every drop of blood, every loss, every moment of fear and courage had been for this. The home they had fought to protect. The heart of humanity itself. The alien survivors fled into the darkness, their pride shattered. Fleets that had once dominated star systems now carried only fear. The galaxy, for the first time, truly understood that humans were not just another species. Humans were a force of nature, a storm of willpower and courage that could not be contained. Where aliens had relied on strength, humans relied on resilience. Where aliens had feared defeat, humans had embraced it, learned from it, and turned it into victory. Reyna walked among her crew, pausing to touch the shoulder of a young soldier who had fought bravely despite fear. "You did well," she said softly. "Your courage is part of something greater now. Humanity endures because of you." Tears glistened in the eyes of soldiers, not of sorrow but of understanding. They were part of something larger than themselves. They were part of a species that refused to be erased. Even in victory, humans mourned their losses. Names of the fallen were whispered in the halls of the flagship. Stories of bravery, sacrifice, and defiance were shared in quiet moments. Humans understood that power was not measured in destruction alone, but in endurance, courage, and compassion. They had fought with iron will, but also with hearts that understood grief. The alien empires, now scattered and trembling, began to retreat from the systems humans reclaimed. Worlds that had been oppressed for centuries celebrated the arrival of their liberators. Humans did not conquer for greed or glory. They reclaimed the stars to ensure that no one could ever erase them again. Across the galaxy, the story of humanity spread like wildfire, whispered in fear and awe. Humans were back, unstoppable, merciless, and unbroken. Reyna looked at her crew, proud but solemn. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We fight not for vengeance, but for survival. We rise not to destroy, but to endure. We are humans. We cannot be broken, and we will never be forgotten." The crew nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Every human on that ship carried the spirit of Earth in their hearts, the courage of their ancestors, the sacrifices of their fallen, and the hope of the future. As the flagship turned toward Earth, a new dawn shone across the galaxy. Systems once dominated by fear and oppression were now free, watching the rise of a species that had been underestimated for centuries. Humanity had returned not as a minor player, not as a forgotten species, but as the unstoppable force the galaxy had feared and would now respect forever. Reyna stood at the observation deck, watching Earth grow larger, its oceans and continents shimmering beneath the distant sun. She felt a surge of pride, hope, and unshakable determination. Humans had endured betrayal, war, and near extinction, and yet here they were, stronger, wiser, and united. The blue planet was more than home. It was a symbol, a heart that had never stopped beating even in the darkest moments. A young pilot approached her, eyes shining. "What now, Captain?" Reyna smiled, her voice steady and full of fire. "Now we rise, for Earth, for every soul who believed in us, for humanity, and no one, no empire, no fleet, no weapon will ever forget that humans endure. Humans fight. Humans rise." And as the fleet moved through the stars toward home, the galaxy understood the truth that would echo for generations. Humans were unstoppable, unyielding and merciless only to those who dared to doubt them. The age of humanity had begun. The blue glow of Earth grew larger, brighter, a beacon of hope and defiance. Humanity had returned, not as fragile children of a small planet, but as legends of the stars, unstoppable, iron-willed, and eternal. The galaxy trembled, and Earth rose,